write them all down. It might take a notebook with a long list of how your rights operate, where they operate, in what context they operate, what the liberty is. And these are things that you do naturally. Many of them would be, of course, very slight things that aren't very important and not perhaps of interest to anybody else. But your rights are innumerable, and it's fair to understand why that provision is there, because the anti-federalists, the people who were against the Constitution, right? I would hope that would be people like you, that you would have voted against the Constitution. They were concerned about the rise of a unitary national government, what was called at the time consolidated government, which is what we have now. And we've had it really since the time of Lincoln, when consolidation after the war to prevent Southern independence got its big boost in the courts and in the legislatures in the progressive era, which was the beginning of the era of positivist law and regulation. And we have in our day a system which has grown up that I'm trying to understand how it works. And I've been reading some cases, and a case I read yesterday, I've got a whole stack of them in my office. And the case is State versus Jonathan Malady. Now, malady is a very propitious name, because a malady is an illness, right? If you are sick, you have a malady. The word sick in French, which I haven't yet taught my son in his French lesson, is malade. It's the same. It's an adjective, and it's the same Latin root. And malady, the malady case tells how the system works. It tells how we have had our quills pricked off of us. Our quills, you could say, snipped off one by one. And in one particular area, the right of locomotion, the right of self-transportation or self-propulsion, the right of automobility, if you will, the moving of yourself, right, self-movement, there has been for decades, since 1937 here in Tennessee, there has been a compromise that has been offered. And guess what the people have done since 1937? Well, they've all taken the compromise. They've taken the offer, and they are, well, they probably think better off for it. And the state is in its place, in its throne. God is in heaven, and all is right with the world since 1937. Well, the porcupine citizen, you have to understand, is that way because that's how the state views him, how he views you. And so it's important for you to be separated from your constitutional rights, the right to move about. And in the area of movement, not just relocating your business from one town to another, not just finding a new address in which to receive your mail. It's something beyond just having a new residence. Okay, residency is a legal concept which is defined as the place in which you intend to stay. That's residency. It's a legal concept. If you intend to stay in a certain place, then you have established legally residency. And it's kind of a subjective thing, but it's something that it is a factual nature as to whether or not you have that intention, and it can be proven in court, right? Whether you are intending to stay in a particular place and thereby establish residency or not. Well, we are porcupines, and we are unapproachable. So how does the state approach someone like you and millions of other people who want to use the roads? They want to use the roads, the new technology of the car, which of course began in the 1910s and 1920s. And then with Henry Ford's mass production system, everybody had cars. And there was a great prosperity that came to the auto workers who worked for him and everyone else who could have mass-produced vehicles that had motors that ran gasoline and propelled folks down the street, passing all the carriages and with lumbering drays with their four horses pulling them up the hill. Well, the compromise that we've been urged to make is to apply for a license to use the road. And in Tennessee, the driver's license statute is is under commercial business, right? If you have a driver's license, even though you use a car for private purposes, you are making an application for a driver's license for the purpose of business. That is the heading of Chapter 50, where the driver's license rules are, and the well, the obligation to have a driver's license, if there is one, is found there. And it is under that statute, Title 55, and then Chapter 50, which is enforced against all the Hispanic immigrants in Chattanooga who drive freely without a driver's license, and other people who just don't have driver's licenses, either for temerity, for boldness, or they just haven't gotten around to it, or somehow they just think it's not important and they're not going to worry about it. There are all kinds of reasons behind which people drive without permission from the state, and who exercise effectively a right to travel by car, when everyone tells them, every lawyer will tell this person, driving is a privilege and you cannot drive unless you obtain permission through the privileging process. You obtain the special favor from the Department of Safety and Homeland Security. Well, you're a porcupine, and to get the quills off of you so that we, the state, can approach you, we have you sign an application. And that's what you do when you and your daughter, your 17-year-old daughter who's going to get her learner's permit, that's what you do. You enter into a different realm in which the Constitution does not apply anymore. And it doesn't apply because all the rules of the road apply, all the rules of the relationship that your daughter has, that 17-year-old girl has, with the state, those control. In other words, contract law takes over, equitable relationships take over. You might say commerce, right? Commerce takes over, and constitutional rights are laid aside. We could say they're laid aside, or you could say that they're cut off, they're snipped off. And so you can't really, in a conflict with the state over the use of the license or the use of the road, there are great limits that you've agreed to accept on your exercise of your constitutional rights. And you say, well, how does that matter for local economy? How is that a local economy issue? Well, it's a freedom issue, and I would encourage you to read into this discussion of the Malady case. Mr. Malady, who was convicted of driving 3 times in 1989 and in the early 1990s, 3 times he had convictions for driving without a license or driving under the influence of alcohol. And he was then charged civilly under the Tennessee Motor Vehicle Habitual Offender Act, and had a non-criminal trial, and lost, and his license was seized from him. And so he raised constitutional objections, for example, to double jeopardy. How can I lose my license as a form of punishment when I've already been convicted? That's double jeopardy, is it not? And the court explains, I think with some care, almost as if it doesn't want to give away too much, how the system works of administrative law. If you are in the administrative realm, your constitutional rights are irrelevant. They are irrelevant, and you agreed to them being irrelevant in that sphere. So how do we have a vigorous life? How do we have a vigorous exercise of rights if we are, as we're told in the Constitution, a free people enjoying the fruit and prosperity and protection of free government? How do we make our way ahead? Well, my name is David Toulis, and our show is Nuganomics.com. And the Malady case is described in not too much detail, but enough detail to give you a sense of where we stand vis-a-vis the state, and that's at Nuganomics.com. Nuganomics.com, the website for the man who matters. And is that a popular website? No. Well, and it's not, because there are very few people who matter. There are so many people who don't matter, in a way of speaking here, just a manner of speech, and they're not going to be informed by my work as the editor. Well, I am David Toulis, and we are here at AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio in North Hamilton County. And I do thank you for giving me a few minutes of your time online, hotnewstalkradio.com. And on your smartphone, if you haven't done it yet, kick yourself and get the TuneIn Radio app, TuneIn Radio, and just type in Hot News Talk Radio. And there we are, and you can see me, and whether my tie is the crinkly model today. I think I've got a crinkly one on, my bow tie, and I'm really not very good at making them, so you'll just have to laugh at me. And don't make me feel bad, okay? Don't make me feel too bad about my work in the morning there in front of the mirror. And you can see my guest too. And whether my guest is wearing a bright blue shirt or a t-shirt and a hat, you will meet him as well. And the question in my essay, which I think is it's going to be kind of a mind bender if you read it, but it's about the question of remedial law. And the word remedial law means that there's a certain body of law that fixes things. And my suggestion is that remedial law, which is an actual kind of law, right? If you look in the law dictionary, Black's Law Dictionary, it tells you what remedial law is. Remedial law fixes a law, and it allows certain things to happen that might not otherwise be accomplished for the purpose of the state. And administrative law is remedial. In other words, it fixes the problem that the state has with you. You, with your constitutional rights, you are a bother. You are a bother. You would clog the court if we couldn't get rid of your constitutional rights. We couldn't have all the arrests we have today with sheriff's departments and police departments if everybody had constitutional rights that they actually asserted. Right, that would make the police state collapse. It couldn't prosecute anyone. Court cases would all be very few, because each court case would just demand a lot of time and trouble. But people are willing to give up their rights. So they do it all the time. And you can just in a word of comfort, if you give up your right in one case, doesn't mean you have to give it up in the next. Right, every time you are assaulted or besieged in your rights, you can give them up. And we've all done that. But you don't have to do it again in the future. So the question is, where do you draw the line? When do you say, this time, no? And well, my theory here at Nuganomics.com is that we'll be freer and more prosperous in our lives in Hamilton County and in Chattanooga if we love our neighbors and buy local, and if we disbelieve the mantra of national economy, which is that far is better than big, that big is better than small, and that complex is better than simple. And in the footnotes down there, national economy is going to tell you that corporate is better than personal, and that abstract is better than physical. And yet that's not true. That's not true. Well, one of the people who agrees with us on these ideas is Louis at Automax. Louis is a very small businessman who has probably the best car deals in town in the used car market. And Louis runs Automax. It's a very unpretentious little car lot just past Central High School on Highway 58 out toward Harrison. He doesn't have a staff. He does all the work himself. Sometimes his wife, Melanie, helps him. He buys the cars, cleans them, runs the shop, deals with customers, has the mechanic come in. He'll do everything to make the customer happy. And we're very glad to know him. And I'd like to recommend that you, my listener, if you're looking for a car or have that first car in mind for a son or daughter here at the beginning of summer, you haven't bought that graduation gift yet, think about an Automax car from Louis. Your student can build credit. All the loans in that car dealership Automax are reported to the credit agency, so your student will build credit, and anybody can get a car, and he uses subprime lenders to make that happen. Call Louis at 643-2886, 643-2886, and make sure you mention that you are the Hot News Talk Radio listener and that you are a particular fan of David Toulis. That's me, I hope. And here at Nuganomics.com. Also, wanted to mention that we have a half price website. It's half price off now. It's at our website at hotnewstalkradio.com. There are all kinds of great deals, including half price pizzas from Jets. You can get your cell phone or your iPad repaired at Cell Surgeon. Adam Disbrow has given us some coupons there. And your repair there is going to be $100, probably a little bit more. And you can buy two $50 coupons for $50. That's also at Cell Surgeon. That would also apply for various phone accessories. Well, we are thinking that there's more prosperity if there's more liberty and more self-government, and not less constitutional rights, but more. I think we need to get back to what we used to have, so that we might be a richer people. And there's a story that you're paying a lot of attention, as I am, to the hoopla in California, not in California, but in Texas, with all the storms that are raging there, the floodwaters. We've all been seeing stories of and footage, if you will, the old nomenclature, video images of people sitting in cars that are waterlogged on highways In Houston, there are dozens of missing people, at least 5 dead. In Wimberley, Texas, there were 350 houses that were swept away. The Blanco River is up 30 feet. It went up on Sunday, 30 feet in 3 hours. There are tornadoes that have touched down. Dallas has 9 inches of rain on a couple days ago. Now on Sunday, the wettest in a century. Oklahoma City has had 4 inches of rain in 2014, and this year thus far, it's had 27 inches of rain, with Houston being impassable. There are all kinds of stories, and yet while this is happening, California is in a biblical drought, an epic drought that we have. If you look at the satellite imagery, there's a man who seems to know quite a bit about how weather works and how government works. Has a website, I think it's called the HAARP report, HAARP, regarding the weather injection system that uses projected power from Alaska and other places. He has a great interest in suggesting that the drought is part of geoengineering, and when you have an extensive effort in one part of the world, as we are having in California, which is destructive of billions of dollars of value and industry, and very punitive. The drought is punitive. Well, you have excesses elsewhere. You can't have an effect in one area that you've brought about by energy projection methods, or by jet aircraft program, which is called sky striping. That's my term for it. And we are having that repeatedly in California, and no rain will fall. Sky striping has the effect of being a method, a technology of which President Obama very quietly approves. That is a desiccant. Desiccant is, of course, a thing that dries. If you buy ammunition, make sure that you have your boxes of .223 caliber bullets in an ammunition box, but put a little packet of desiccant in there to absorb moisture. That's what a desiccant is, a drying agent. And chemtrailing, as it's called, it has a desiccant effect. It is a drying effect, and it prevents rainfall. And the effect over California is no rain, but there are exceeding remarkable weather events and disasters elsewhere, as the weather system, which God controls, right? God controls that by means. There are these overreactions elsewhere. So you're having these systems. And a year ago or so, there's an article in HuffPo, Huffington Post, by a writer named Bill Chamides, who's the dean of the Duke University's Nicholas School of the Environment, and he was talking last year at HuffPo in April, 13 months ago, about President Obama's favor of geoengineering, which is the effort to manipulate the environment, including injecting particles into the stratosphere, he says, to reflect sunlight back into space, and by dumping iron into oceans, etc. So he makes reference to the existing program that we have over Chattanooga, as well as some sort of not Oliver Twist, but Jonathan Swiftian sort of Gulliver's Travels projector projects, which are really fruity. He mixes into his report the fruity and the existing program. And he says that the program that President Obama has apparently supported by executive order, a copy of which he saw that was thoroughly redacted, an ACDC report, he says that it's that, and I almost had to laugh at his description. The key to the program were apparently specifically designed flexible cords made out of nanofibers, basically high-tech bungee cords, and a personnel team of the Navy, Air Force, and U.S. Weather Service. Unwitting participants included the airline industry and anyone who took a transcontinental flight this winter. That was, of course, last year. NSA expert James Winkwink explained that the program exemplified the spirit of military-civilian partnership, even if the partnership was a secret to the public participants. This is in Huffington Post. Through a process that remains top secret, the Navy and Air Force tied one end of the bungee-like cords to commercial jets and to others to the jet stream, and then used the jet's trajectory to pull that baby southward to form the polar vortex. That was at least a couple years old, a little bit fruity explanation, but the program is going in effect with the laying of stripes, modifying the weather, and drying out California and dumping on Texas.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
If you have the DT, shit, because your phone is on the fritz, you have nomophobia. You need help. Your telecom doctor is in. Cell Surgeon at Northgate Mall. Cell Surgeon yanks open the ribcage of your phone, pries out the dead heart, and puts in the beating life that you lead on your cell phone. Broken screen, phone not charging, water damage, battery given out? Cell Surgeon at Northgate Mall next Old Chicago Pizza. Check us out on Facebook. Open Sunday. Cell Surgeon. We bring your phone back to life. We've got a table here at Delia's in Saudi Daisy, ready to delight in a plate of authentic Mexican food. Delia's spreads a rich selection, loaded nachos, crazy chicken, homemade tamales, maybe the enchiladas with beef, chicken, pork, quesadillas, every dish beautifully pictured on the menu to help us decide. Join us for lunch or dinner. We're at Delia's in Saudi Daisy on Dayton Pike near the Thrasher Light. Here's dinner. Delia's uses the freshest ingredients, cooked to perfection. Nachos, homemade. Delia's open every day except the Lord's Day. For lunch and dinner, treat yourself to Delia's genuine Mexican food. In Saudi, call 521-7145. That's 521-7145.
Are you tired of working in corporate America, or have you recently lost your job and would like to consider owning your own business? If you are, please call me, as I can help you look at franchises or business opportunities that fit you, the economy that we're in, and the type of businesses that are right in the greater Chattanooga area. After I help my clients find the right opportunity, I also help them find the best way to finance the business, including paying yourself through the startup phase. If you would like to learn more about opportunities that may be right for you, please call me for a free assessment. My name is Bruce Krebs at the Entrepreneur Source. Phone number is 423-875-5621.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
You do not have to be living with constant pain. You need to make the choice today to enjoy a revitalized body. You deserve to live a better pain-free life. And Dr. Ross can help. At Ross Chiropractic, failure is not an option. For over 40 years, Dr. Ross, a graduate of the prestigious Palmer College of Chiropractic, prided himself in helping and healing. The Ross method of chiropractic care is unique in developing a treatment designed just for you. And Ross Chiropractic makes this promise to you. If he believes that he can help relieve your pain, he will guide you to another health practitioner to assist you. Feel better now. You owe it to yourself. You really do. Call Dr. Ross now at 954-9591. That's 954-9591. And visit Dr. Ross at 7405 Shallowford Road, Suite 320. Ross Chiropractic, helping your body heal itself. Because when your spine's in line, you will feel fine. Call 954-9591. That's 954-9591 for Ross Chiropractic.
Do you feel better outside your home or business than in? Indoor air quality is important. Mildew, mold, smoke, water, and rodent damage are prime causes of poor indoor air quality. Ducts, Indoor Air Professionals, better known as Duct Busters, cleans HVAC systems using 127 definable Duct Busters steps. Let Mark Thompson address the indoor air quality at your business to help reduce employee illnesses. Prevent fires by cleaning your dryer vents. Mark and his parents, Dick and Joan Thompson, have been building our local economy and helping local people with HVAC systems 16 years. Ducts, Indoor Air Professionals. Call 876-9907. 876-9907. Ducts. Call now.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
Fox News Radio, I'm Lillian Wu. The president expressing his condolences to the governor of Texas over deadly storm.
I assured Governor Abbott that he could count on the help of the federal government. We have FEMA personnel already on the ground. They are coordinating with Texas emergency management authorities.
Some of the worst flooding in Wimberley, where the search continues for 12 people believed to have been killed in a home which got swept downriver. There's a warning out for U.S. bases.
A heightened threat of attacks from ISIS in military installations could be targeted in the near term. This latest bulletin, posted before the Memorial Day weekend, makes note of upcoming national holidays, but adds there is no credible threat.
Fox Radio's Jared Halpern. And Amtrak announcing it'll install video cameras inside locomotive cabs to record engineers' actions. This after a derailment which left 8 people dead in Philadelphia. Fox News, we report, you decide.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
Live from Chattanooga, Tennessee, it's Nooganomics with David Toulis.
The internet is a baffling place, and yet there are people who are finding their way upon it, and they're finding the way to profit and service at the same time. The old models of publishing are gone in many ways, and we as publishers, I'm a publisher, Finn Glover is a publisher. We have to find a way of making our livings on the back end. So how does the back end work? How is it that we give away our main product, and yet we expect to make enough of a living to pay the rent, buy gasoline, and to buy the latest organic vegetables from the grocery store? An important question, and one I have not solved myself. And so Finn Glover from rootsrated.com is in the studio to explain this the mysteries of the internet and how we are to power ourselves financially and yet provide a terrific service in a way not limited by old media constraints, where your material is on the internet, it's free, and if there are people who are paying along the way for that to be there in a certain context. So what is that context, and how is rootsrated.com finding its way with 7 full-time staff here in Chattanooga, or we'll find out exactly where they are, 7 full-time staff and 4 part-timers who are almost full-timers, and 50 writers. There are 50 writers who take part with Finn Glover in his business, rootsrated.com, that started in 2012. It's a platform that serves people in 35 American cities. Finn is 27. He's a bachelor. He has a degree from where he attended the University of Richmond, graduated University of Richmond in Virginia. And Finn, welcome to Nooganomics.com.
It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
How does your business work?
Well, simply put, we are a platform to help people to discover amazing outdoor experiences. And so the way this came about is about 4 years ago. We drove all over the United States to do 2 things. One, we wanted to interview college students about the barriers they face when trying to discover outdoor recreation. And what I mean by outdoor recreation, that could be a hike in your own backyard. It could be your next big trip to the Tetons. It could be a trail run or a stand-up paddling experience. But over the course of a summer, we traveled 16,000 miles around the United States and southern Canada and interviewed 1,200 college students about the barriers they face when looking for outdoor recreation. And consistently, what they told us was, we don't know where to go and we don't know how to get there, with a third corollary of that being we don't know who to go with. So to some extent, a social component. And that was really underlined by our own experiences of coming into a new city every 3 or 4 days, getting on our phones and Googling terms like best hiking Minneapolis or best trail running Chicago, and just generally running into a sea of absolutely fragmented, outdated, and very difficult to trust information online. When we couldn't find information, anecdotally, when we searched the term best hiking Minneapolis, the first result was a Yelp review for a botanical garden. And for anyone that's been to Minneapolis, this is a mecca amongst our city's most beautiful outdoor towns. And so that was just really astonishing to us. But so when we couldn't find information online, what we started to do was stop into local outdoor retailers, local bike shops, local run shops, and ask their employees where to go. And consistently, those employees who really proved themselves to be quite the local experts could give us amazing recommendations. And often they would scribble down directions to a trailhead on the back of a receipt, and we'd go have a really phenomenal time.
So as you were making this trip, Finn Glover, because we had a business in mind, or was that why you took this trip of all these many thousands of miles, you and your colleagues? Were you trying to find out how to make a business work, or did the business idea not come just yet?
We kind of set out without a business plan in mind and without really the knowledge that we would be starting a business. It was mostly a big adventure. And through that informational gap, I guess you could say, that's when we really had the light bulb moment and thought, there's an opportunity to create a business out of solving this informational problem.
Well, how long was that trip? How many
That was about 3 months.
3 months of traveling. This was not part of a business plan. You weren't there as a businessman as you are now. You were traveling with friends, and you were going to all these different places. And say something else about this trip. What else happened on it that really pointed you in the direction of rootsrated.com?
Well, I think, very importantly, we had some early sponsorship from a couple outdoor companies. One of them was Rock Creek, which is based in Chattanooga. And then Rock Creek was able to pull in some sponsorship from some of the brands that they sell in their store. And the reason that they were willing to sponsor the trip is because the outdoor industry in general is very interested long-term in understanding how do we as an industry break down barriers to recreation. If the industry has a deep understanding of that question and of the many, many answers that go into answering that question, then it will be better positioned as an industry to continue to grow its customer base.
So talk a little bit more about the kinds of questions that you were asking of these various cities to which you went. What kind of things were you asking, and what were you finding? You say it was all fragmented and sort of useless.
Yeah, I mean, so we're stopping on to college campuses. We're canvassing college students, literally walking up to them with clipboards and spending 3 or 4 hours on a campus with camcorders too. And what we're asking to some extent kind of technical detailed questions, i.e., do you use this platform or this site to discover information, or a little bit more open-ended, like what are the things that you do when looking for outdoor recreation, and really trying to just get kind of a general 90,000 foot view all the way down to a 10,000 foot view on how people are trying to go about looking for this. Predominantly, it's searches via Google, as we were encountering. And when you search via Google, that's when you run into a huge discrepancy in the quality of the information that you'll find.
So it's not Google's fault.
No, not at all. No, Google.
And it's not the students' fault who were looking, was it? Were they asking the wrong questions or putting the wrong sentences together?
No. It's just the fact that, for the most part, all over this country and all over the world, highly curated, professionally created content about this lifestyle and about the experiences within this lifestyle have not been consolidated into a single platform. And so you might be running into the Yelp reviews of the botanical gardens. You might be running into a blog that hasn't been updated since 2005. You might be running into a retailer's website who's put some information online about their favorite hikes. You might be running into, crowdsourced information from various trail finding applications. It's very kind of across the board, typically very inconsistent, and generally points toward that kind of thesis that we discovered, which was fragmentation. So fragmentation, the answer to fragmentation on the internet, which makes it difficult for people to know where to hike, where to go backpacking, where even to surf. It requires curation or curating, which is to say, basically an editor, right? A publisher to say, okay, I'm gathering together all the things in this field of which I'm becoming an expert, and I'm going to arrange it so that people here in this town and then in the next town as well, or the next city, can find the best answer. So that's a form of consolidation and centralization in a way, right? There's a centralization of function. Yes, absolutely.
We'll talk a little about that, and how is it that Roots Rated centralizes this function? It gives the editing and discretionary function to serve its many thousands of viewers online.
Sure. Well, so part of the experience that we had on that trip was really foundational in the direction that the business would subsequently go on to take. Essentially, what we learned, and what we probably already knew to some extent, was that local outdoor retailers, local bike shops, local run shops are really town centers. I mean, if you think specific to this city, Chattanooga, Rock Creek has been here since 1987. Its owners, grew up hiking in southeastern Tennessee together. One of the owners, for his honeymoon, took his wife on the Appalachian Trail. They did a full through hike. The people that they hire live and breathe this lifestyle. In many ways, they're experts, and often they're sports specific experts. So when you walk into Rock Creek and you want to talk to somebody about the next pair of hiking boots that you're going to buy, or the next pair of climbing shoes you're going to buy, you're talking to somebody who does these things. We realized that throughout the course of the trip, and realized here's a town center that could connect us to not only its employees, but also local conservationists and local athletes. And through that connective process, we could hire excellent freelance writers who are high quality content creators and have them create content on behalf of the expertise that this retailer can put us in touch with.
The writers, though, work for rootsrated.com, right? Their pay comes from you.
Correct.
Now you're paying writers. Well, say something about the writers you've engaged here in Chattanooga, Finn Glover.
Yeah. So, I probably started out doing a lot of the writing here, and I do less of the writing now. We work with some great writers here. A man named Roger Ling has been phenomenal. Chris Wharton, who's really been foundational in the development of the trail running community. Sophia Bunger, who's a climbing coach. Rye Glover, who's my little brother. He's actually our kind of associate editor full-time at this point. And then, probably 5 to 10 of the experts at Rock Creek have also written for us.
So you pay them. Now, how does Roots Rated make its living as a business?
So the model right now is two-pronged. Part one is sponsored content, and then part two is licensed and syndicated content. And so essentially what that means is that brands are paying to sponsor the production of content, on top of which they will receive branding.
Be specific. Give an example.
So Marmot, the outdoor brand, which is they're a big brand based out of Santa Rosa, California. They really care deeply about Chattanooga as a market. It's been a great market for them over the last 35 years as they've grown their brand. They sponsored the editorial production of everything that we've done in Chattanooga. Now, importantly, they do not exercise any editorial control over what we write. The reason being that if they did, they would lose the authenticity that makes the platform worth a reader's time. And they accept and appreciate that.
So when my listener comes to rootsrated.com, how does he get notice of this company?
Basically what will happen is on all of the content, it will say made possible by Marmot. So that's a form of sponsored content in a specific example. Another form of another component to our business model is in fact licensing the content that we create to brands so that they can go use that content to engage audiences that they may already have or audiences that they're trying to target.
Well, be specific. How give an example or two.
So this is more reflective of a sea change going on in the world of internet marketing and how brands start to think about owning conversations with consumers, because for the last 5-10 years, what you've, of course, noticed is that the internet is driven by free content that publishers subsequently monetize through traffic. Well, what's been happening for publishers is that CPM is the cost per 1,000 impressions. They've been on a drastic slide and decline over the last 5-10 years. And so it's been very, very difficult for publishers to stay in the game and make money if they're trying to monetize via site traffic, because basically they have to have many, many millions a month impressions to make any kind of meaningful income. I know of companies that'll have 11 million unique visits a month and make a few $100,000 a year off of that.
So give my listener an idea, Finn Glover, how many fractions of a penny an impression would give today.
It totally depends on what the publisher is capable of demanding. What you often see are publishers that will set their CPM rate, and a CPM is cost per 1,000 impressions. So they might set that, if they're a premium publisher, let's say at $15 for every 1,000 impressions. But the reality is that most publishers have been forced down into the $1 CPM range or the less than $1 CPM range, and it's simply not sustainable. And so what you're seeing are content publishers who are making shifts into what you would call advertorial, in which they're creating sponsored content for brands. Brands are paying them to produce content, or they're licensing and syndicating and selling off their content to brands. And that's what we're doing. And the reason it works is because increasingly brands have channels through which they can communicate with audiences. And this has really been catalyzed.
That you don't have.
Well, actually, we have them too. It's just, it's been a little bit democratized in the sense that because of the social channels, a brand like Rock Creek or a brand like Marmot can go have really meaningful conversations with their customers via the social media channels, via the email channels, all these things. In order to have a great conversation, though, you need to have something to talk about. And so that's one of the challenges for a brand marketer or for a retail marketer, is creating the content that the consumer would actually care about.
We'll say something more about Rock Creek Outfitters, Finn Glover. Finn Glover is one of the founders of Roots Rated. Are you the rootsrated.com? Are you the founder or one of the
co-founder? So
he's a co-founder.
Co-founded with Dawson Wheeler, who owns Rock Creek, Mark McKnight, who is the director of marketing at Rock Creek, and then a man named Gordon Seabury, who's the CEO of a Santa Barbara-based apparel company called Toad & Co.
Well, give another example of how Rock Creek has a benefit with you. I want to say you're an independent publisher, but you're independent in a way, but every publisher is dependent on his advertising support. Otherwise, he can't publish. So we have to admit that all publishers are in a way compromised by their business necessities. But you're an independent publisher, and you have partners who are businesses. Give another example of how Rock Creek sees you as an advantage to its business in selling backpacks and shoes and kayaks.
Sure. I think what the main value that Rock Creek sees out of a platform like Roots Rated is that we give voice to their expertise. So when you're looking for something to do in Chattanooga as it relates to an outdoor activity, whether that's stand-up paddleboarding, whether that's trail running, when you go to Roots Rated, you're going to be looking at the best places to go outdoors for these sports according to local experts at Rock Creek. Rock Creek, for the last 25 years, has been an expert in these sports. They've not had a digital platform that allows them to harness that expertise and distribute it to consumers across social media effectively, across the search engines effectively, across their email platforms effectively, and now even in store. And so when you walk into Rock Creek today, what you'll encounter is, a really passionate and highly educated staff that is going to be able to guide you not only to the best products for you, but also the best experiences for you. And they're going to use Roots Rated to help guide that process. You'll interact with in-store kiosks that we've built and designed. And hopefully we've provided them with enough.
What does the shopper do at an in-store kiosk that's been you say designed by rootsrated.com? What does he do there when he's in the store?
I mean, essentially the in-store kiosk is think of it as an adventure kiosk. So you come up to an iPad stand and you get to see very, very visually the 15 best places to go stand up paddleboarding, the 15 best places to go for a trail run. You can have directions from the iPad kiosk texted to your phone to get to the trailhead. You can meet and greet Rock Creek staff and see why Josh Legg is into cycling and why Josh Legg is into trail running, see what he cares about. Know that he's the guy that you want to talk to.
And does Josh Legg, is he in charge of the bicycles at Rock Creek? What does he
sell bicycles?
No, okay. What does he sell there? What's his specialty? Josh.
Well, Josh is in fact the head of merchandising.
Okay.
He's a great cyclist and definitely a great hiker as well. If you go talk to, all of these people really know what they're talking about. And it gives you an opportunity to see, look, if you're planning a through hike, you might want to talk to this person. If you're planning on a weekend in the Smokies, you might want to talk to this person.
Well, your business is rootsrated.com. You're one of the founders. It started in 2012. We're talking with Finn Glover. My name is David Toulis. It has 11 staffers. 4 of them are part-time, but almost full-time. And there are 50 writers in 35 American cities. Well, Finn, where did the money come from to start this business? Is it to what extent is it capital intensive, and what is your situation in soliciting capital now for for building out your platform?
Great question. So I don't know how capital intensive it is in the sense of how it would compare to a manufacturing business to get off the ground, or how it would compare to a retail business. Increasingly, it's cheaper to start web-based startups than it was, certainly 5 years ago. We were able to get off the ground, originally with essentially a $60,000 investment in 2012. We have subsequently raised money from angel investors, which has basically given us a certain amount of runway when combined with our revenues to go out and execute on, a certain strategic milestone plan.
So you're still burning the cash pile that's the capital, because your revenues have not covered those outlays. Well, how long will it take for rootsrated.com to achieve this sort of independence from capital, and then be able to at some point, propose payment of the principal and the profit?
It depends.
What's the timeline?
It depends on the ambitions of the management staff. It depends on the ambitions of the board. If our primary purpose was profitability in the next 6 months, we could make that happen. If it were 12 months, we could make that happen. What we know is that for the size of the vision that we're trying to accomplish, our business will require a series of capital inflections. So, for example, we could get to a place where, we're able to pay everybody that's on staff and break even within the next 12 months. But if we wanted to then scale our content internationally, we would be looking at investors to help make that possible. If we want to be, more than, content producers, but also really invest heavily in our architecture and our engineering, and we need to bring on more engineers, we've got to make a compelling case to board members and investors that in order for us to achieve XYZ, we're going to need to hire around these 4 positions, but these are not revenue generating positions and they won't generate revenue for the next 12 months. But here's why we should do it. So,
well, to fill out the ambitions for rootsrated.com in the domestic economy, which I would say is probably, well, let's say the United States, maybe Canada, but how much money is for that phase are you hoping to get from the investors, or maybe people like my listener?
So we're in the process of raising what we would call our first equity round. You could also call this a Series A round. And we're targeting about a $2 to $3 million raise. How will all that capital be put to use? It'll be put to use in terms of hiring key positions that haven't joined the team yet. Chief operating officer, probably 3 to 4 more engineers, and then an expansion of our content team.
That means the writers and the editors.
And so what we'll use that capital for is to achieve about 7 milestones that we've laid out to investors over the course of the next 18 months. And then, we project that based on the business's trajectory and with that specific business model, we will have achieved break even at that point. Then it's, have we shown our board and our investors that we're competent managers and that we can take this to the next level.
Now, we only have a minute left. Have you told us what the milestones are, or are there? Can you tell us what the steps are to?
Not so specifically, but I mean, it would include generating XYZ in terms of sales. It would include generating XYZ in terms of the amount of content that goes into our archive and is stored in our databases. It includes the building of a team. The way I look at my job is I have 3 primary responsibilities. I have to have a vision. I have to be able to recruit really talented people around that vision, and then I have to make sure there's enough money in the bank to pay them.
Well, Finn Glover, how can my listener find out more about you or contact you if he wants to find out more about your efforts at rootsrated.com?
Rootsrated.com is the website. I believe my email address is on the site, but it's finn@rootsrated.com. That's F as in Frank, Y-N-N. It's like Huckleberry Finn, but with a Y.
F-Y-N-N. Well, thank you so much for joining my listener, me here at Nuganomics.com. We've been talking with Finn Glover of rootsrated.com.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here.
Well, we are all for local businesses, and here we have local men of talent involving themselves in the sports world, anything that is powered by the human body, and they are providers of gear and providers of knowledge and reports of the places in Chattanooga and in other cities across the country. And our goal here at Nuganomics.com is to show that this is what we need to have more of in Chattanooga. We need to have you, my listener, doing the same thing as Finn Glover did. Had a long trek and didn't have really a business plan, but he knew he was trying to find something. And he and his colleagues, canvassing campuses around the country, discovered the gap in the internet and in the world of writing and marketing. And here he is with rootsradio.com, letting visitors to that website know the best places to pedal a bike or to run a trail or to surf or to hike or to backpack. And my name is David Toulis. Our show is Nuganomics.com. We are all about local economy. If you love your neighbor, you'll buy local, we say. It's a very quaint thought, but if enough people do that, we'll have increasing prosperity in Chattanooga and surrounding areas. Thanks for giving me a few minutes of your time.
Give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds. We'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
Don't worry, just relax. You need a car. Come to AutoMax. My wife and I keep the cost down. We sell a quality vehicle at a great price. Our overhead is low. I have no employees, so I can keep my costs down. In turn, the consumer gets a better price. Everything that I sell is emission ready. We really try to go the extra mile for our customer. I don't have to pay an employee commission. I don't have to pay somebody to come out here and wash my cars. You know, I do it all from buying to selling from A to Z. I don't have the overhead where I have to raise the price on my vehicle to cover costs. Here at AutoMax, you're going to guarantee that you get credit. As long as you're making those payments, you're going to build on your credit. Unlike the buy here, pay here's where they don't report to credit bureaus, we report to all 3 credit bureaus. The subprime lenders that we deal with, you don't have to have any credit, or you can have bad credit. You can even have a bankruptcy, a repossession.
Don't worry, just relax. You need a car. Come to AutoMax.
Right now, you can save half off at hotnewstalkradio.com. Go to hotnewstalkradio.com and click half off for exceptional deals on new and pre-owned unique quality items for Hamilton County residents only. Save half off at Jet's Pizza, golf clubs, coffee, tea, a real sword, jewelry, and much more. It's half off. Go to half off at hotnewstalkradio.com right now, then click on half off to save big. Be sure to join us live Wednesday, Thursdays, and Fridays at 11 a.m. as we bring you lots of fantastic deals right here. AM 1240, Hot News Talk Radio. HotNewsTalkRadio.com and half
Surgery
off.
does not have to be financially painful. Hi, I'm Surgical Dr. David Red, and I'd like to invite you to my walk-in surgery clinic in North Shore. Quick Surge brings you immediate relief from moles, skin tags, maybe a laceration. Quick Surge. You walk in, fill out a mini form, I numb the area I'll treat, and before you know it, you're on your way home. Do I take insurance? No, because I take cash customers. I have super low and fixed prices, credit card, check, or cash. Uninsured, member of the working financially disadvantaged, choose Quick Surge. I publish prices online. No murk, just sunshine. Hassle-free, pain-free. Love the idea of a personal relationship with a doctor? Drop in with a nasty cut from work. Quick Surge, I'll take care of you. Quick Surge in the Public Center on the North Shore. No insurance hassles with Quick Surge. The national medical system is dysfunctional, overpriced, very alienating. I'm part of the solution, and so are you. Come on home. QuickSurge.com. QUIKSURG. Relief.
When my brother and I opened the first Jet's Pizza, we believed if we made the best pizza, customers would find us. So we made fresh dough each day, used fresh toppings, and premium mozzarella cheese. 300 plus stores later, we still do.
Try Jet's famous 8-corner pizza with premium mozzarella cheese and 1 topping, now just $11.99 for a limited time only. Jet's Pizza, the best pizza in town. 3600 Hickson Pike.
Life is short. Eat better pizza.
Let's get Jets.
Okay, you get your taxes done by a franchise, but you're just a number. Your preparer might have had a 9-week course, but he's a number 2. Are you creating prosperity for your customers and yourself? EJ Pelton clears the thick underbrush of taxes, helps make your way straight. Don't let uncertainty dampen your local economy spirit. Look, come home. Let EJ Pelton Tax Service handle your taxes. Eric Pelton is the Chattanooga and Saudi Daisy tax specialist with 37 years under his belt. Eric Pelton also does bookkeeping and accounting to help you reach your entrepreneurial and financial goals. Confidential advice, consulting, and other services. Yours for the asking. EJPelton.com. That's EJPelton.com. Call 332-3339. That's 332-30-30-30-30-30-30-33-39. Think ahead.
Here comes Dale Earnhardt Jr. He's got third. He's going for second. Earnhardt going for the lead.
The NASCAR Sprint Cup Series is on the Motor Racing Network. Coverage continues Sunday here at Live on the Motor Racing Network, the voice of NASCAR.
NASCAR being brought to you by River City Auto Exchange, 5503 Highway 153 in Hickson.
Check it out this Sunday live on Chattanooga's official NASCAR radio station.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
WSDT Saudi Daisy, Chattanooga.
CBS News. I'm Harley Carnes. This is what the Texas flooding looks like.
We're the point of a really big funnel that kind of extends up into central Texas, and a lot of water that falls upstream flows through Houston. It's still a dangerous situation along the bayous. They're full of water. The water's moving very, very rapidly.
That's Houston's mayor, Anise Parker, where much of her city's underwater in large part because the city sits very near sea level, and it doesn't take much to start flooding. Flood control chief Jeff Linder says nearly 600 people have been rescued so far.
Primarily, most of those rescues involve people whose vehicles flooded out, and they actually were able to self-rescue in most cases, but we did send a significant number of resources out to assist people to higher ground.
CBS's Vicente Arenas is in flood-ravaged Wimberley between Austin and San Antonio.
Right now, it's still considered in a very dangerous situation because it is still raging. The ground is saturated, so if there's any more rain that falls here, it could turn into a real problem.
Amtrak is installing cameras in the cabs of its trains to keep an eye on the driver. CBS's Chris Van Cleve.
They want to know if the engineer's distracted, if, there was a sudden acceleration to the throttle or sudden braking. They want to be able to have an eye to see what's happening inside a locomotive. It'll help them piece together what happened in a crash.
Sort of like a black box cockpit voice recorder in an airplane, which records audio, but with pictures. The Justice Department says the city of Cleveland has agreed to make changes in the way police do their jobs, particularly in the minority community. Mayor Frank Jackson.
Today, May 26, 2015, marks a new way of policing in the city of Cleveland.
Agreeing to do it means they don't have to risk being forced to by federal courts after a long legal fight. Police officers, family, friends gathered in tribute to Omaha, Nebraska police officer Carrie Orozco, shot to death by a fugitive last Wednesday. Hundreds of police officers were there for her today. Iran has an American journalist, a Washington Post reporter, on trial in Tehran, and the trial is secret. CBS's Margaret Brennan says Jason Rezaian has already been in custody in Tehran for 10 months on rather murky espionage charges.
Neither Jason's mother nor his wife were allowed into the court proceedings. They waited around for hours during this first day of trial, even did poke into the building a time or two, but were never allowed into the proceedings.
On Wall Street, the Dow has lost 228 points so far. The S&P's down about 25. NASDAQ down 65 points. And oil prices right at $58 a barrel. Police in Morganza, Maryland, say their investigation's complete now. They've arrested 7 suspects in a senior prank at a high school. The pranksters allegedly released about 72,000 ladybugs into the school. That's an estimate, since it's kind of hard to count them all. There was security video. One suspect ordered the bugs online, according to the police. This is CBS News.
I'm Jay Farner with some great news on how you could save an average of $3,000 per year on your mortgage. Call Quicken Loans now at 800-QUICKEN to see if you qualify for the government's Home Affordable Refinance Program, or HARP. The HARP guidelines have changed. There's less paperwork and often no appraisal required. Call 800-QUICKEN. That's 800-QUICKEN. Or visit QuickenLoans.com.
Important terms and conditions apply. Calls for cost information. Equal housing lender. Licensed in all 50 states. And MLS number 3030.
The more you learn about your insurance coverage, the more gaps you might find. Like how you thought you were covered for this.
Check out my new addition.
Wow, I love this new master bedroom.
When you're really only covered for this.
Check out my new addition.
Wow, a Murphy bed.
Now you see it. Now you don't.
Or how you may be covered if you drive your car into a pool.
That pool came out of nowhere.
But not if you drive a carpool. Talk to a farmer's agent about what gaps might be hiding in your insurance.
We are farmers. Bum, 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 bum.
2 more fast food chains are trying to augment, if not completely change, their image by offering more health-conscious food on the menu.
Fast food may never be healthy food, but the industry is responding to pressure from the public to make their menus more wholesome. 2 more chains, Taco Bell and Pizza Hut, are eliminating artificial flavors and colors. The spokeswoman for Taco Bell says one example of that would be using real black pepper instead of black pepper flavor in seasoned beef. Frank Sedapani, CBS News.
The White House says there are too many ethical issues still to be worked out before allowing genetic edits to human DNA. The fact that nature affects DNA routinely is part of the issue, but having humans do it deliberately is controversial and has unknown ramifications. The National Academy of Sciences plans an international summit on ethical and policy issues related to human genome manipulation this fall. Harley Carnes, CBS News.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
Live from Chattanooga, Tennessee, it's Nooganomics with David Toulis.
Russell the Kid has coined the phrase reverse carpetbagging to describe the modest efforts that we are undertaking here at Hot News Talk Radio, 1240 AM, to export the ideas of local economy, to export the Southern way of thinking, the grace and gentility of Southern people, the old mores, the old social mores that marked a long Christian culture. Even today, the South has much more of the gospel in it than other parts of the country, where God has seemingly abandoned places in the Midwest and on the West Coast, and even in New England. The name, God's name, is revered in the South, even though many of the people in the South are not necessarily practicing church-going Christians. There is culturally the memory of the gospel, the memory of grace, the idea that God is the creator and great and to be revered and feared, if not necessarily worshipped. But of course, among Christians, God is worshipped. There's a story on TV3's website about a couple, the Earwoods, who recently married. The man in the couple is a Marine. He's a corporal. His name is Caleb. And the couple is in the news because of the work of a photographer, Dwayne Schmidt Photography, who before the wedding took place, caught the couple having the couple are standing along a corner. He's on one side and she's on the left. Her hand is to her mouth and they're holding hands, but they're not looking at each other because they have not accomplished the nuptials yet. And the tradition is that the bridegroom and the bride are not to see each other until they are there at the front of the sanctuary. We were about to take our first steps in life together, and we didn't want to take a step without being in God's will, Caleb told Today.com. He's 21 years old. I prayed to God for my beautiful and intelligent wife that he blessed me with and the amazing family I was marrying into. He says, Maggie says, when I first grabbed his hand, he was really shaking. He was shaking really bad, so I knew he was really nervous. It relieved me to know the person I was getting ready to marry felt the same way about God. And so it's a beautiful picture, and his head is bowed. He's got his military dress cap in his hand, and of course they're not looking at each other, but they are. She seems to be emotionally touched by the encounter that Dwayne Schmidt, the photographer, captures on his lens. And so here everyone's noticing this couple praying. It would be a ridiculous picture. It wouldn't be a picture at all if it were two men marrying or two women. It is right and natural, and it is good and true. And I would say godly in the case of Mr. and Mrs. Earwood, to have this ritual before God and man, uniting them in marriage, which is intended by God, of course, to be until death of one or other of the spouses, and to be a place in which two people of different opinion, often different interests, different backgrounds, work out their differences because they promised that they would, because marriage has a promise. And other relationships, especially other relationships across the sex line, don't have promise. They don't have the notion within them that we will work out our differences, even though we are hurt or indifferent or cold or offended perhaps at something. We're going to work out our differences because we promised before God that we would. We took an oath that we would do that. Well, my name is David Toulis, and our show is Nuganomics.com. I contacted today David Redd, who is a walk-in surgeon. He's a surgeon. Well, he runs a walk-in clinic called Quick Surge, and he is the surgeon there waiting to take care of you. My mother has some little carcinoma patches on her face, and I was asking. She was saying, "Wow, we've got the dermatologist, which is a month to see him, and then another month possibly beyond that to have a little surgery on her face." And so I said, "Well, I do know David Redd," and so I called him, and I sent some photographs of her condition to see if he could take care of her. And here's what he does: he is a surgeon, but he doesn't take insurance. And because he doesn't take insurance, he has fixed prices on all of his services. There are things that he removes routinely: moles and skin tags and cuts and lacerations, job injuries of some kinds, not all of them. And he has fixed prices, all super low, published at quicksurge.com. That's QUIKSURG.com, QUIKSURG.com, Quick Surge. And he's part of the Reformation of Medicine, where, again, the doctor has a relationship with his patient. There's no third party telling him what to do, requiring him to file reports, and so on. It's a very simple relationship between a person who needs medical care, such as this elderly woman, the matriarch of my family, and the doctor. The insurance business has ruined the medical profession, to which that profession has sold its soul. And yet there are doctors such as Dr. Red and Dr. Homero Rivas, who runs Chattanooga Spine and Body on Hickson Pike, who've done the same thing. They're saying, we've had enough. We are done with insurance. We are done with Medicare, and we believe in local economy. We believe in the free market. So Quick Surge is where you can get it for hassle-free, kind of might say pain-free walk-in surgery. And David Red is the surgeon. Do find out more about that. If anything comes up, he's not in an emergency room, but some things could certainly be handled there that otherwise would go for $2,500 or $3,000 in emergency room care. Let him take a look first. Just think about that. It's walk-in, it's cash, and it's not very expensive. I also want to mention, since we are concerned about local economy and your role in it, my idea is that we face national calamity. We face the great deformation, as David Stockman calls it in his magnificent opus, which I'm reading now of that title. The great deformation in capitalism. American capitalism has lost its way and is facing disaster because it does not accept reality. It does not accept that debt, the idea that debt is not wealth. Debt is not wealth, and yet it believes that somehow, in some vain fantasy, that it is, and that our prosperity is tied to increasing the debt so that people can buy more retail goods. Right? That's kind of the idea. In that disaster, you, my listener, need to have your own business, and you need to start it now. You need to think now about investing in yourself. Divest national and invest local. That's what Finn Glover is doing. He runs rootsrated.com and some of his partners in that business in the local world of supply of sporting activities. Such as hiking and kayaking and things like that. They are investing in themselves. You should do the same thing. If you don't have an idea for business, contact Bruce Krebs. Bruce Krebs runs Entrepreneur Source, and he will get you into a franchise that is suitable to your background and interest and your capital availability. Call Bruce Krebs today at Entrepreneur Source, 875-5621. That's 875-5621. More about the flooding in Texas. Texas, of course, is receiving the overflow of the drought conditions that have been, if you believe the satellite imagery, imposed by unknown parties upon California, parties that control masses of jet aircraft, and a major program of desiccation. Desiccation is the drying out of the weather by weather modification. It's called, there are various words for it, but solar radiation management is what it was one word for it, or albedo modification is the other. And there are many hands on this operation, which is largely in secret, though you can see it with your own eyes. You can see it with your own eyes, and you can see the results of sky striping, especially in California and off the coast of California. There has been if you believe the free market analysis available online on this topic, a great diversion of the weather of liquid salvation from California. Right, there is a lack of water for 4 years now, a hard drought, and because of this intervention by national government and its allies, there's a slop over of effect elsewhere, and that's what you have with snow in Arizona just recently, 5 inches of snow in Arizona, and tremendous, unprecedented storms, 100-year storms in Houston and Dallas and other areas that are indirectly affected by the manipulation of the weather stream by the national government, by the good people, as I like to call them. They are the good people because they intend good. We grant them that half tongue and in cheek. There's a story at Chattanooga.com about a winning bid for a large tract of land. The bidder for land owned by John and Edith Buxton is along the Tennessee River and the Chickamauga Lake near Dayton. It brought an offer of $4.37 million on Saturday, according to Chattanooga.com. It's a Saturday Post. But the bid was not accepted. We had a willing buyer, Henry Glasscock of the John Dixon auction firm says, but the sellers were not willing to accept the high bid. Both parties are through negotiating, but things could still change. The proposed buyer, the high bidder, was Greg Vital, whom this story refers to as a conservationist. It said he made a bid for the whole tract after earlier rounds of the 23 lots selling separately. And at the close of the earlier bidding, the story says the total is $4.1 million. Well, this is David Toulis, and our show is newgonomics.com. And do thank you for giving me a few minutes of your time. I want to mention Eric Pelton. He's the numbers guy. We are trying to account for numbers here, and Eric is an accountant. He's a CPA and has been doing tax and accounting work for 3 decades. So he knows the business. He knows small business. If you like to find out more about what you're doing and ask his opinion about your business idea, well, Eric Pelton would love to meet you. Just tell Eric you're the newgonomics.com listener, and he will be glad to give you kind of an initial consult, right? No charge for that, but you can talk about your plans a little bit, and he can kind of maybe offer some advice. His number is 622-3156. That's 622-3156. I'm talking today at newgonomics.com about my deepening analysis of the administrative state, and the argument that I want you to consider is seen. I saw in a very lucid way a case that came out of the Tennessee High Court back in 1996, the Court of Criminal Appeals, a decision about a drunk driver who was complaining about having lost administratively his driver's license. And he made some claims pretending that he had a constitutional right and that these were being violated. And my analysis is, I think it's deepening because I'm finding in this case proof of my argument that the driver's license statute in Tennessee is really makes us a free market state, a truly much more liberal state than we had thought. We had thought that you couldn't use the roads without a driver's license, and yet the structure of the statute, which I have analyzed at newgonomics.com, the website for the man who matters, the structure of the statute and cases like this make it, they work together to show that you have constitutional rights, but you gladly give them up. We are constantly giving them up. And in the area of self-propulsion or automobility, if you will, the ability to move yourself, we are giving up that right for what's called a privilege, the privilege of driving an automobile in commerce. Now, why would you want to do something in commerce when you can do it privately without state intervention, without state permission? Well, this is a mystery. It's a mystery, and since I'm a thoroughgoing free market advocate, a classical liberal, if you will, it is of interest to me, and I'd like you to think that maybe it's of interest to you too, because we want there to be an expansion of liberty, and if it's true, if I'm right, that the free market is more beloved in Tennessee than we thought, then we've got progress. We can make progress. Think what happens if you're shown to be a free market state. Well, people will come here. People will come from other states to live here because it's freer than in their home state. They will come across the border. They will come from Honduras and Guatemala, hardworking people who are pro-life, right? Pro-life. They love family. They don't buy gay theory, right? Good Republican candidates for voters. They'll come here because they know that we have a free state, a state that's free. You can come here and drive just because you're breathing, right? You're breathing and you are an adult and you can drive a car in preservation of yourself, and you're driving in care of other people, showing due care and diligence for other people, and not causing any accidents. And if I'm right about the law, if the law is free, then we are blessed indeed, because the legislature back in 1937, when it enacted the driver's license scheme to regulate commerce, wrote a statute that is permissive. It is permissive. Another word for it is directory. It's a directory statute, not compulsory. And you're not compelled, I would like to suggest, to have the state's permission to use the public road. And I know this is deeply in the minority view. I know that, and I'm not giving you legal advice, okay? I'm not giving legal advice. I'm simply saying that the state snips the quills of your constitutional rights, and we are like porcupines. And to avoid having to deal with us as porcupines, the state, in many ways, snips the quills off one by one, and it does that by our voluntarily agreeing to enter into a commercial relationship with said state. That's a little bit an oversimplification, but that is what's happening in the area of the use of the road. And I think it's important because we all use the road all the time. And even if we're not involved in commerce, we are still using the public roads for our private purposes. And most of us are licensed as commercial people. We all pretend to be involved in commerce under the application statute, which is under the commercial driver's license provisions of the law, even though we're not. So there's some things here that I think are worth knowing about. And if we are free, then let us not live as if we're bound, right? I was just this morning in family worship, we were reading in Leviticus. My son has an assignment, and I thought, wow, at family worship yesterday, he read to me out of Leviticus the servitude passages. And we read today in family worship about how the Israelites were required to treat gently those of their own people who had enslaved themselves to pay a debt, right? Creating a debt in old Israel was a kind of a perilous thing, because the year of Jubilee came every 49th year. And Israelites were freed after 7 years of servitude, that you couldn't hold you couldn't enslave a fellow Israelite for more than that length of time. And the idea of the Jubilee is built into the world. It's built into the world. In old Israel, the debts were forgiven, and the old lands lost by improvidence and care and disaster, lands that were in your family, were restored to you. Now, we don't have a marketplace like that here. We have a much more liberal market, a free market in the buying and selling of property. But we do have the Jubilee, and the Jubilee is coming. There is a Jubilee coming. It won't have a biblical flavor, probably, though I would like to think that Christian people could give it one and give a biblical explanation of why debts have to be written off. At some point, there's the debt that has to be written off. You know, the debt in paper money is not a real debt. You know that, right? It's not. If debts contracted in Federal Reserve paper are just imaginary, they're not real obligations. It's not as if you, the debtor, borrowed silver coins and now are not paying the silver coins back. You got in the loan that you received, that you now are struggling with, you got dollars that were created from nothing. They were created ex nihilo, from nothing. And now you're bound by them and you're supposed to pay them back. Well, if you have a monetary system that's corrupt, you are encouraging all kinds of other corruption, such as the non-payment of a debt. But the system breaks down, and it is breaking down now. The system is breaking down now, and there are alternatives to the Federal Reserve dollar, this scrofulous medium of exchange, which robs all the poor of their assets and strikes the commoner, the common man, the simpleton. It strikes him in his purse every hour, and he doesn't realize it. He does not realize it. And when your property is taken from you like that, you need to think of alternatives. My solution to the paper money collapse, which is ahead, it's something ahead, just local economy and the free market. There's another solution, and it's honest money. It has two parts: honest money, which would be gold and silver, and then the mystery money, which is a cryptocurrency, a currency such as Bitcoin, which is a code. It's an algorithm, and yet it has a value. Bitcoin, as we're going to hear more about, has buying power in the marketplace. It's a Bitcoin, I think, is worth a couple $100. We're going to find out more about that. It's a mystery that's opening up, and it's a form of digital economy. It seems to offer some of the benefits of lawful coin and currency. It is a self-limiting medium of exchange, which means you can't create it from nothing, as paper dollars are. Well, this is David Toulis. We're trying to preserve our rights. We're trying to preserve capital. We're trying to maintain buying power into the future so that we can do more in the future. So that's why our whole agenda here at Nuganomics.com is liquidity. Divest national, invest local, get liquid. Start spending some time with your family. Invest in your own little business. This is David Toulis. I thank you for giving me a couple minutes of your time. Now, I've got something for you to hear.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
If you have the DT, the shakes, because your phone is on the fritz, you have nomophobia. You need help. Your telecom doctor is in. Cell Surgeon at Northgate Mall. Cell Surgeon yanks open the ribcage of your phone, pries out the dead heart, and puts in the beating life that you lead on your cell phone. Broken screen, phone not charging, water damage, battery given out? Cell Surgeon at Northgate Mall next Old Chicago Pizza. Check us out on Facebook. Open Sunday. Cell Surgeon. We bring your phone back to life. We've got a table here at Delia's in Saudi Daisy, ready to delight in a plate of authentic Mexican food. Delia's spreads a rich selection, loaded nachos, crazy chicken, homemade tamales, maybe the enchiladas with beef, chicken, pork, quesadillas, every dish beautifully pictured on the menu to help us decide. Join us for lunch or dinner. We're at Delia's in Saudi Daisy on Dayton Pike near the Thrasher Light. Here's dinner. Delia's uses the freshest ingredients, cooked to perfection. Nachos, homemade. Delia's open every day except the Lord's Day. For lunch and dinner, treat yourself to Delia's genuine Mexican food. In Saudi, call 521-7145. That's 521-7145.
Are you tired of working in corporate America, or have you recently lost your job and would like to consider owning your own business? If you are, please call me, as I can help you look at franchises or business opportunities that fit you, the economy that we're in, and the type of businesses that are right in the greater Chattanooga area. After I help my clients find the right opportunity, I also help them find the best way to finance the business, including paying yourself through the startup phase. If you would like to learn more about opportunities that may be right for you, please call me for a free assessment. My name is Bruce Krebs at the Entrepreneur Source. Phone number is 423-875-5621.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240. You do not have to be living with constant pain. You need to make the choice today to enjoy a revitalized body. You deserve to live a better pain-free life. And Dr. Ross can help. At Ross Chiropractic, failure is not an option. For over 40 years, Dr. Ross, a graduate of the prestigious Palmer College of Chiropractic, prided himself in helping and healing. The Ross method of chiropractic care is unique in developing a treatment designed just for you. And Ross Chiropractic makes this promise to you. If he believes that he can't help relieve your pain, he will guide you to another health practitioner to assist you. Feel better now. You owe it to yourself. You really do. Call Dr. Ross now at 954-9591. That's 954-9591. And visit Dr. Ross at 7405 Shallowford Road, Suite 320. Ross Chiropractic, helping your body heal itself. Because when your spine's in line, you will feel fine. Call 954-9591. That's 954-9591 for Ross Chiropractic.
Do you feel better outside your home or business than in? Indoor air quality is important. Mildew, mold, smoke, water, and rodent damage are prime causes of poor indoor air quality. Ducts, Indoor Air Professionals, better known as Duct Busters, cleans HVAC systems using 127 definable Duct Busters steps. Let Mark Thompson address the indoor air quality at your business to help reduce employee illnesses. Prevent fires by cleaning your dryer vents. Mark and his parents, Dick and Joan Thompson, have been building our local economy and helping local people with HVAC systems 16 years. Ducts, Indoor Air Professionals. Call 876-9907. 876-9907. Ducts. Call now.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
Fox News Radio. I'm Lillian Wu. Rescues underway after massive flooding sweeps across parts of Texas.
Our thoughts and prayers are with the families and the communities that have been affected by some of these
devastating record-breaking floods.
President Obama saying he's told Texas Governor Greg Abbott he can count on the federal government for help. 12 people are missing, feared dead after the house they were in got swept down a river, smashed into a bridge. A move to wrest from Mahdi from ISIS militants.
Shia militias known as the Popular Mobilization Committees, backed by Iran, are now leading the fight to retake the capital of Anbar province. The Iraqi government claims the counterattack has begun. The Pentagon says they have only seen signs that shaping operations, including artillery and rocketing, has begun.
Fox's Jennifer Griffin. And the FBI investigating anonymous phone threats against international flights in New York, New Jersey, and Massachusetts on Memorial Day. Fox News. We report, you decide.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240. Live from Chattanooga, Tennessee, it's Nooganomics with David Toulis.
I thank you for giving me a couple of minutes of your time. I'm sweating to be number one here at AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio. I'm number 4, and the perspiration is making a dark line on my collar as I work very hard for you, my listener. Number 1 we have is Russell the Kid at Digital Drive every day at noon. The show for your smarty pants teenager who thinks that she knows everything about tech, but she really doesn't, because she doesn't have a market perspective. And that's what Russell will give to your daughter or your son as he's getting more interested in the tech sector. Number 2 is probably held by Sean Hannity. We're the Sean Hannity station. We're the CBS radio news outlet here in Chattanooga. Laura Ingram we have also. Maybe you like George Nuri on the night watches. Maybe you're a NASCAR person who just enjoys the races. But the number 3 slot is just one step down from these high offerings, and I'd say it's probably Tex with Cowboy Up with Tex every day after our drive home show, and he shows up at 6 with his hat and his carpentry tools and his big way with the world, and here at Nooganomics.com, I'm just trying to get ahead, and I'm really having to work at it and sweating. I wanted to mention Delia's Authentic Mexican Food Restaurant. Delia is a female name, but the owner of Delia's in South Saudi Daisy is Maria Hernandez. And if you're new in the country and want to know what Americans do and how they enjoy fare from south of the border, Delia's is the place to go. It's on Dayton Pike near the Thrasher Light. And the special today is the taco platter. It's number 28 on the menu. It's $1 off, and you can have the chicken or beef. It's $4.99. Mention that you hear about Delia's on the radio, and you'll get a free iced tea. So that's a little teaser there for you, and an encouragement to the waiter or the waitress, letting Maria know that she's not wasting her money advertising here at Hot News Talk Radio. That's how radio works, right? You support our advertisers, and you then keep that advertiser here because their business is always increasing when those advertisers have their spots on our station. Well, my name is David Toulis, and I wanted to mention also Advantage Printing right quick. We are friends of Advantage. Your advantage is in its name, and whether it's large format service or quick turnaround on mailing operations, Advantage is there for you. We're talking about the economy and how to prosper Chattanooga and Hamilton County, and are there things ahead that are exciting, or do we just have the dreary prospect that I often paint about national economy and its imminent debt collapse, the collapse of reality? Well, the arrival of reality upon this mountain of IOUs, which will not be paid off by corporations, municipal governments, and national governments. They are in there up to their ears in IOUs. There is an alternative to the Federal Reserve dollar, and to hear about that, we have Bob Biles, who's an author and he's a publisher of a book on the future of the digital economy, and he is the president of the Bitcoin meetup group that meets today in downtown. Bob, tell us about the Bitcoin meeting tonight.
Well, certainly, I'm glad to. There's a meeting that we have once a month. Fourth week, fourth floor of the downtown library. It's from 5 till 7. 5 to 6 is the general discussion. And then if there is a presentation, it said 6. We don't happen to have one this evening. This is one of the days that is being held. And the whole purpose of it is to talk about Bitcoin and to get to know it and to begin to understand how to use it, what it is, what it's good for. It's really very much a beginner-oriented group. We have some people there that know a fair amount about it, but we all spend most of our time passing around laptops, passing around cell phones, learning how to transfer Bitcoin back and forth, maybe buying some Bitcoin, maybe selling some Bitcoin or buying things with it. So it's kind of a hands-on group.
Now, when you showed up at Panera Posse the other Friday, by the way, Panera Posse meets every Friday at the Panera Bread store in Hickson.
Real good group.
Well, yeah, I'm invited, and Bob Biles is invited.
In spite of the fact that you're there.
Exactly. And we sit around eating bagels and talking about things and over coffee. And my son was there, and Bob gave this boy 12 you might say a coupon that's worth 1/1000th of a Bitcoin. About how much is that worth in American
That's
paper
about
money?
25 cents right
About
now.
25 cents. So
don't spend it all at once.
And so this boy with his little bit of code on a piece of paper that the president of the Bitcoin meetup group gave him is going to come tonight to the meeting. This is in God's providence, of course. Will come to the meeting, and he'll find out about maybe opening an account. Well, what is Bitcoin, and why would a boy care about having a piece of digital currency, Bob? What is Bitcoin about? What's the promise of Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies?
That's a hard question to answer because it's so unusual and so strange. Probably the quickest answer I can give you is that it's electronic gold. I mean, I can't think of any other way to say it. And I don't mean by electronic gold. I don't mean a certificate that represents a piece of gold. I mean a certificate that stands alone by itself electronically as an asset, just like gold, in which somebody had to put some work into producing it, just like gold, where it's restricted in the amount that can be produced, not by an institution, but by the real world, just like gold. And unlike gold, it's capable, because it's electronic, of being transmitted anywhere in the world in a matter of minutes. Because it's electronic, it's capable of being hidden in a manner that gold is not hidden. If I have Bitcoin on me, I can keep the passwords for that in my mind. I can't keep gold in my mind. If somebody decides I've got a gold coin, they can rough arm me, frisk me, eventually find that money and walk away with it. It's much harder for them to do that, although if they started breaking all my fingers and toes, I would probably give up the password. But nonetheless, it's much harder to stop people from distributing a Bitcoin.
Well, Federal Reserve notes and their digital equivalents are created by the trillions in the banking sector and by central banks and the American Federal Reserve System. Therefore, the buying power of the dollar continues to decline. How is it that Bitcoin is self-limiting in its production, which is an important point that my listener is interested in hearing about?
Well, that's there's a tremendous amount of detail involved in that, and I'll go ahead and take a bit of a shot at it. But first, I just want to point out that there is considerable evidence that really does work, because Bitcoin has been in existence now, out in the public, being used for 8 years. During that time frame, everybody and his brother has been trying to do exactly what you said, trying to create Bitcoins that's not supposed to be part of the system, and nobody has been able to do it. So the first part of the question is, it works because it's been proven to work. The second part of the question is that the nature of Bitcoin is that it's a distributed system in which every single major user of Bitcoin has access to everything about Bitcoin, including the creation of coins. And the reason he can't create coins as fast as he wants is because everybody is checking everybody else in the process. So if I printed up a fake Bitcoin and I tried to give it to you, you have a copy of all the records that I have, and your records say, I don't really have that Bitcoin. And so you're going to say, I'm sorry, this is not a real Bitcoin, because my copy of your book says you don't have one to give me. And that's what stops people from faking Bitcoins. The only way you can arrange to increase the rate that Bitcoins are produced beyond what is built into the system, in everybody's system, the only way you can do that is to convince at least 50% and probably a whole lot more people who have these Bitcoin nodes that they have to go along with you and increase the rate of Bitcoin production. And of course, they're only going to do that if they have a really good reason. So, it's very much like saying the Federal Reserve can't print extra dollars unless every person in the United States who uses dollars agrees to it and goes along with it.
Well,
you can see how hard that would be.
You're suggesting that there's a watchdog, maybe my listener, who has a Bitcoin, that he can find out if there's a fake Bitcoin out there. That's asking really kind of a lot. It sounds like to know whether there's a fake Bitcoin out there requires a great deal of intellectual knowledge and, I might say, tech savvy. Talk a bit more about how it's generally understood that you can't create new ones and thereby limit the supply.
Sure. First of all, let me say that Bitcoin does require more technical knowledge than does, say, owning a piece of gold. But the issue of detecting a fake Bitcoin doesn't, because you don't actually do that. That's the software that you downloaded as part of the package that you put together to run Bitcoins. And in fact, it's not just your software, it's every single piece of software that everybody else has in the system. So if I'd want to give you a fake Bitcoin, my computer software, if I would have to alter it in order to get it to do that, but I could, because there's nothing to stop me from going in there if I'm a smart programmer and doing that. I don't happen to be, so in fact, I personally couldn't, but a smart programmer could. And he tries to give you the Bitcoin, the chances are he's not going to be connected directly to you. He's going to be relayed through another one of these nodes. So he's going to send you that Bitcoin. The very first node he hits is going to look at that, his copy, the node's copy of your books, and say, whoa, this is a fake Bitcoin because you don't have this much money on your books. I'm not going to transmit any farther. So in fact, you wouldn't even see the Bitcoin that I'm sending to you unless I just happen to be connected directly to your computer.
Well, the problem with Bitcoin is that it's a decentralized system. It's distributed, which means that it is bankless. There's no bank or central depository or series of repositories where Bitcoins are gathered and records kept on them. That's correct. Where are the records kept in Bitcoins?
Well, that's a very good question. And if you understand the answer to that, you will understand both some of the virtues and some of the risks of Bitcoin. And the answer is they're kept everywhere. A single copy of all of the records, which is called a blockchain, which is really just a journal of every single Bitcoin transaction that has ever occurred, that document exists on the computer of everybody that's using Bitcoin. So the result is that if I fake a number and send it to you, your journal of all the transactions, your computer will go down that list of transactions, add up the total amount of Bitcoins I have, and say, whoa, you don't have this Bitcoin. This is not valid. I'm sorry, I'm going to throw it out.
Well, how long does this trail on every piece, on every coin go? How much memory does it take up for it to be a valid and true and complete record? 8 years now in the making.
Well, you have hit on one of the concerns of Bitcoins. There are many concerns that people bring up, like, is there going to be inflation, which are realistically absurd. They're never going to happen. But there are valid concerns that people bring up, and people are working on them, trying to figure out the solution. And one is the issue of scalability. Right now there's a relatively small number of people dealing with Bitcoin. Right now, the list of Bitcoin transactions is relatively small, and it's about 70 gigabytes, which is something that you could put on a good quality, high-speed computer, a laptop. But one of the big questions is, wait a minute, if Bitcoin gets popular, this list of transactions is going to be huge, and nobody's going to have room on their computer anymore. That's a concern. There are a number of projects and groups that are trying to find solutions to fix that problem. And again, because it's a consensus system where everybody has copies, they will have to propose that to everybody to say, listen, guys, we want to make this change. And everybody looks at it and they debate it and they finally say, yeah, we agree, this is a good change. 90% of the people will use it. The other 20% will be dragged along because they want to do business with the first 90%. And that's how the system evolves. It evolves by consensus, but not by any single authority saying this is the way we want to do it.
Well, scalability is important, which is to say the use of a cryptocurrency by more than just tens of thousands of people, but maybe by millions. How How for that to happen, you want to be able. Well, the problem with Bitcoin, if there is among the problems, is that it requires connection with the paper money system that we have now, the banking sector. Scalability would theoretically let Bitcoin or other cryptocurrencies escape connection with the existing economic paradigm or platform. Does Bitcoin have prospect for that? Bob Biles of the Bitcoin Meetup group here in Chattanooga.
Yes. As to when that will occur, that's really a question of what will happen to the dollar. I mean, right now the dollar is king. There's a whole lot of really good reasons why you should use the dollar. It's convenient. Everybody accepts it. You can pay taxes with it. There is a tremendous financial structure set up with it to use credit cards, to use cash, to use debit cards. The list goes on and on and on. And if it weren't for the fact that the dollar is controlled by a single central authority who seems corrupt to the core and determined to completely debase it, the dollar would be great. I mean, all we need is to find a group of angels that we can put in the Federal Reserve to run things perfectly, and we won't have to worry about this anymore. Unfortunately, I don't know of any of the angels, and so far it doesn't seem like that's going to happen. And so what we have to worry about instead is the fact that when the dollar collapses and fails, what are we going to do for money?
Well, what do people who follow Bitcoin, Bob Biles, think about the dollar? What is their view of collapse? How bad is it? In my mind, there are many good things about collapse, but the word itself just connotes desolation and ruins, smoking ruins, and kind of flattened lands and flattened cities and so on. Of course, that's just dramatic. What does an economic collapse look like, and how would Bitcoin or some other kind of cryptocurrency come in to offer its services to a needy people?
Well, let me give you a specific example. Take a company in Atlanta. One that might be necessary for our general well-being. Take one of the medical centers that we all like in an economic situation, for the medical center to continue to work, for doctors to continue to be there and supply us with whatever we need. If the dollar becomes worthless, how is a structure like that going to survive? You could say, well, they can use gold. But how in the world can you pass gold coins back and forth through a large organization like a medical center? You realistically can't do it. Especially when you're burdened with the fact that the medical center buys a tremendous number of the goods and services that it uses from the rest of the world, not Chattanooga, but it buys them from New York, it buys them from manufacturers in the Midwest. It's got to buy those things, and to send gold coins out to those places is just not going to work. Bitcoin is very capable of stepping in to that kind of a situation and have people buy and sell and pay with Bitcoin because it's all electronic. It gets away from the issue of having to move physical coins back and forth. You can have all of the computer structures that you now imagine, all the accounting structures that you now imagine, all the remote payment structures that you now imagine, all the transfers of money automatically to people's accounts that you now imagine with dollars. They all work with Bitcoins.
This is David Toulis. Our show is Newgonomics.com. We're talking with Bob Biles, who's heading up the Bitcoin Meetup group. It meets every month, and this month's meeting is tonight at the Public Library on the 4th floor downtown.
Fourth week every month.
The 4th week of every month. Thank you. And it's at 5 o'clock. There's a chat, and then at 6 there's some slightly official proceedings of the Bitcoin Meetup group. Well, Bob, are there other cryptocurrencies out there that have more promise than Bitcoin? And if so, how are they structured, digitally structured differently than this most noted cryptocurrency?
I guess the answer depends on how you define having more promise. There are some disadvantages to Bitcoin. Everybody who looks at the system knows that. And as a result, many people have proposed and developed and are actually trying to use alternatives that all address one or the other of these problems. To take scalability, if one of the proposals that people are putting out right now to alter Bitcoin works and solves the scalability problem, then the alternatives to Bitcoin that people are creating that have already solved the scalability problem, well, there won't be any need for them anymore. Privacy is another example. One of the concerns about Bitcoin, as you can imagine, if you have a copy of all my financial records, that privacy is a big worry. And there are a number of coins out that are cryptocurrencies that have methods of solving that. And there's also a few proposals within Bitcoin of altering Bitcoins to solve that. If Bitcoin itself solves the problems internally, then Bitcoin's going to continue to do fine. If they're unable to, one of the other currencies out there, like Zero Cash, is going to come along and take its place and probably grow instead.
I'm holding in my hand $3. They're Morgan dollars. I want you just to listen to what they sound like. Okay, that's real money. These are dollar coins. They're Morgans, and I carry them around sometimes to make a demonstration.
Is that a Susan B. Anthony you got there?
No, these are actual coins that I think they have about 400 grains in silver. Now, this is money. This is lawful, constitutionally honoring coin. Bitcoin lacks this. It doesn't refer to anything of value. It should be that a dollar bill would refer to you to this coin. You, my listener, holding the dollar bill, you could give that dollar to the issuer of the paper, and he would give you this coin from his reserves. Now, Bitcoin does not have that. How is that problem obviated by its genius? How is it that Bitcoin doesn't have to worry about it being referential to something of real value, Bob?
I guess the first question is what is real value? The coins that you've just held up have an intrinsic value in our society right now, not because they're silver per se, but because silver is useful in many industrial applications. Gold, less so. Their value is really established not because gold is a tremendously interesting metal for, as an example, jewelry, because there's a lot of pretty metals that could be used for jewelry. You could use chrome, you could use bronze. They're just tremendous numbers. Gold, the primary reason gold is valuable is because everybody thinks it's valuable. And that's the nature of money. Its value exists only because I can give it to somebody else in exchange for goods and services.
There's a historic consensus among humankind.
That's correct. There's a consensus among humankind. And Bitcoin is the only cryptocurrency that has this consensus broadly. There are many other cryptocurrencies, but they have a relatively small number of people that feel their money are willing to trade.
Now, tell us about some of the people who come to the Bitcoin meetup group, Bob Biles. It meets every month, and there's a meeting tonight. You, my listener, if you're interested in this topic, and I plan to be there with a son, Lord willing, would love to meet you and hear about this currency. Who are some of the people who come? Are they techies? Are they college students? Are they nerdish looking fellows with thick glasses?
Yes, they're all of the above, and they're also normal people who are just trying to find out about it because they see a serious problem coming with our current form of money, and they want to learn about what the alternatives are. And the best way to learn is to bring a laptop, sit down. We'll go ahead and put a wallet on your laptop for you. Somebody will even give you
You say a wallet?
A wallet.
A wallet.
A wallet. That's the software that people use to own the Bitcoins, to actually keep track of it. It really just keeps track of your password. The Bitcoins are not actually in the wallet. It's the passwords that are in there that get you access to the Bitcoins. We'll show you how to use that. Somebody will give you a quarter's worth of Bitcoins, and you can put that in your wallet. We'll tell you how to set up an account with an exchange so that if you want to convert dollars into Bitcoins or back and forth from Bitcoins to dollars, you can do so. You can begin the learning process because it's not a simple process.
Well, how would my listener with dollars, how would he explain briefly how he buys a Bitcoin? How would he do that? And how much is a Bitcoin worth today?
Right now, Bitcoin is worth $250. That may vary. Obviously, if the dollar goes down in value, that will probably go up, but it might go down as well. It's, the nature of having the king die is that nobody knows what's coming up next and what it's going to be worth. To
whom does he write the check? That's my question. If he's going to write a check, to whom does he write it?
If you want to buy Bitcoins, probably the best way is to go to an exchange, link that exchange to a checking account. You tell the exchange, I want to buy $10 worth of Bitcoin. It'll take $10 out of your bank account and put $10 of Bitcoin in your account. And then you can transfer it from the exchange into the wallet on your computer.
So the Bitcoin, of course, doesn't show up at the bank's account. It shows up in your wallet on your computer.
It shows up on the wallet on your computer.
Well, Bob Biles, thanks for explaining Bitcoin to me and my listener. I appreciate it very much.
Thank you.
Bob Biles is the head meetup man at the Bitcoin group in Chattanooga, and he is explaining Bitcoin to us, a cryptocurrency which has much promise. And my name is David Toulis. Plan to attend this meeting this evening, and if you'd like to find out more about Bitcoin, meet Bob Biles and meet me. Our show is Nuganomics.com. We cover local economy and the free market. Thanks for giving me a few minutes of your time.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
Don't worry, just relax. You need a car. Come to Automax.
My wife and I keep the cost down. We sell a quality vehicle at a great price. Our overhead is low. I have no employees, so I can keep my costs down. In turn, the consumer gets a better price. Everything that I sell is emission ready. We really try to go the extra mile for our customer. I don't have to pay an employee commission. I don't have to pay somebody to come out here and wash my cars. You know, I do it all from buying to selling from A to Z. I don't have the overhead where I have to raise the price on my vehicle to cover costs. Here at Automax, you're going to guarantee that you get credit. As long as you're making those payments, you're going to build on your credit. Unlike the buy here, pay here's where they don't report to credit bureaus, we report to all 3 credit bureaus. The subprime lenders that we deal with, you don't have to have any credit, or you can have bad credit. You can even have a bankruptcy, a repossession.
Don't worry, just relax. You need a car. Come to Automax.
Right now, you can save half off at hotnewstalkradio.com. Go to hotnewstalkradio.com and click half off for exceptional deals on new and pre-owned unique quality items for Hamilton County residents only. Save half off at Jet's Pizza, golf clubs, coffee, tea, a real sword, jewelry, and much more. It's half off. Go to half off at hotnewstalkradio.com right now, then click on half off to save big. Be sure to join us live Wednesday, Thursdays, and Fridays at 11 a.m. as we bring you lots of fantastic deals right here. AM 1240, Hot News Talk Radio. HotNewsTalkRadio.com and half
Surgery
off.
does not have to be financially painful. Hi, I'm Surgical Dr. David Red, and I'd like to invite you to my walk-in surgery clinic in North Shore. Quick Surge brings you immediate relief from moles, skin tags, maybe a laceration. Quick Surge. You walk in, fill out a mini form, I numb the area I'll treat, and before you know it, you're on your way home. Do I take insurance? No, because I take cash customers. I have super low and fixed prices, credit card, check, or cash. Uninsured, member of the working financially disadvantaged, choose Quick Surge. I publish prices online. No murk, just sunshine. Hassle-free, pain-free. Love the idea of a personal relationship with a doctor? Drop in with a nasty cut from work. Quick Surge, I'll take care of you. Quick Surge in the Public Center on the North Shore. No insurance hassles with Quick Surge. The national medical system is dysfunctional, overpriced, very alienating. I'm part of the solution, and so are you. Come on home. QuickSurge.com. QUIKSURG. Relief.
When my brother and I opened the first Jet's Pizza, we believed if we made the best pizza, customers would find us. So we made fresh dough each day, used fresh toppings, and premium mozzarella cheese. 300 plus stores later, we still do.
Try Jet's famous 8-corner pizza with premium mozzarella cheese and 1 topping, now just $11.99 for a limited time only. Jet's Pizza, the best pizza in town. 3600 Hickson Pike.
Life is short. Eat better pizza.
Let's get Jet's.
Okay, you get your taxes done by a franchise, but you're just a number. Your preparer might have had a 9-week course, but he's a number 2. Are you creating prosperity for your customers and yourself? EJ Pelton clears the thick underbrush of taxes, helps make your way straight. Don't let uncertainty dampen your local economy spirit. Look, come home. Let EJ Pelton Tax Service handle your taxes. Eric Pelton is the Chattanooga and Saudi Daisy tax specialist with 37 years under his belt. Eric Pelton also does bookkeeping and accounting to help you reach your entrepreneurial and financial goals. Confidential advice, consulting, and other services. Yours for the asking. EJPelton.com. That's EJPelton.com. Call 332-3339. That's 332-3339. Think ahead.
Here comes Dale Earnhardt Jr. He's got third. He's going for second. Earnhardt going for the lead.
The NASCAR Sprint Cup Series is on the Motor Racing Network. Coverage continues Sunday here at Live on the Motor Racing Network, the voice of NASCAR.
NASCAR being brought to you by River City Auto Exchange, 5503 Highway 1.